saw what happens when you die. I saw my entire life, every moment, every choice, and the weight of it crushed me. But that wasn't the worst part. I was shown the future. Wars, floods, starvation, and silence, a world falling apart because of us. Then, I saw the other side, the place where the light doesn't reach. Let me tell you this, it's not fire and screaming like you've been told. It's worse. It's emptiness. No love. No hope. Nothing but regret. And the voice told me, this is where your choices lead. If you died today, would you be ready? Would you find the light? Or would you be lost forever? Let me show you what I saw. Because the clock is ticking.
Before we proceed to this incredible story, let me ask you, what if everything you thought you knew about life after death was wrong? The person you're about to hear from died, saw the future, and came back with a warning we can't afford to ignore. If this story moves you, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone you care about. And as you watch, take a moment to reflect. What would your life review reveal? Leave a comment below with a prayer, a thought, or even a decision you've made today to live differently. We want to hear from you.
The inevitable truth. Have you ever wondered what happens when you die? I mean, really thought about it. Those last moments when everything you've ever done, believed, or avoided comes rushing back to you. I never used to think about it either. Life was life, and when it ended, that was it. Or so I thought. But I was wrong. So wrong. Let me take you back to that night, a night that changed everything for me. I was at a dinner party with some friends, laughing, eating, feeling normal. Then it hit me. A pressure in my chest, like someone was squeezing the life out of me. Breathing became hard, and I knew something wasn't right. You see, when you're dying, there's a moment when your body knows before your mind does. A quiet warning, like a whisper you almost miss. But I didn't miss it. I walked into the bathroom, looked at myself in the mirror, and said, Heather, if you don't get help now, you're going to die. And I wasn't ready. I stumbled out, begging for an ambulance. Everyone froze, like they couldn't believe what I was saying. They asked if I was sure. Of course, I wasn't. But something inside me screamed louder than my doubt. I needed help. Fast. That's when the panic began. I was in the car, hurtling down a dark highway to who knows where, my fiancé insisting he could handle it. But deep down, I knew he couldn't. Nobody could. That dark feeling grew inside me, a weight, a certainty I couldn't shake. I was going to die. You think you'll fight it. You think, when the time comes, you'll cling to life with everything you have. But let me tell you, when death stares at you, something shifts. It's not a battle. It's surrender. And I did. I surrendered. But what came next wasn't peace. It wasn't rest. It was darkness. Not the kind of darkness you've seen before, not the lights going out in a room or the sun setting at night. This was something deeper. Something alive. It crept over me, slow and heavy, swallowing everything until there was nothing left. No light. No sound. No sense of time. Just nothing. It should have been terrifying. But it wasn't. That's the strange part. It felt okay. Like floating in the middle of a vast, empty lake, with no beginning, no end. I couldn't even see my own hand in front of me. That's how black it was. And then, far in the distance, I saw it. A spark. Small. Tiny. But it was there. At first, I thought it was my eyes playing tricks on me. But it grew. Slowly. Coming closer. Closer. And that's when the fear crept back in. What was it? Where was I? And why was I being pulled toward it? I wanted to run. To stop it. But I couldn't. Whatever this was, it had me. And that's where my story truly begins. But before I tell you what I saw, before I pull back the curtain on what lies waiting for all of us, let me ask you this. Are you ready? Not ready to listen to me. Not ready to be entertained by a story. I mean, truly ready. For what comes after. For the moment when you no longer have control and everything you've ever done comes rushing back. Because if you're not ready, this spark, this tiny light, it might be the last thing you ever see. So, let me ask you again, are you ready? Because what I saw next, I still can't forget. The final moments. I didn't think the end would come like this. Not in a car, speeding down a dark highway, with no clear destination. My fiancé, bless him, thought he was helping. But I knew. Deep down, I already knew. I tried to hold on. To fight the feeling growing inside me. But there's a point when your body lets go. Your heart knows. And your soul knows. It doesn't matter how much you want to stay. I remember the exact second I surrendered. It wasn't dramatic. I didn't scream or cry. It just happened. Like exhaling after holding your breath too long. I felt this darkness creeping in, slow and steady, like a tide rising over the shore. It started at the edges of my vision and moved closer, swallowing everything. I wasn't scared. Not yet. I was calm in a way that didn't make sense. But I'll never forget how that darkness felt. It wasn't just black. It was thick, heavy, like it carried weight, like it had a presence of its own. And then, nothing. No sound. No light. No body. Just silence. Have you ever sat in total silence? I'm not talking about a quiet room or being alone. I'm talking about silence so deep, so complete, it feels alive. That's where I was. Suspended in this emptiness that stretched forever. For a moment, I thought, maybe this is it. Maybe this is what it means to die. But then I realized something. I could still think. I could still feel. And that's when it hit me. I'm still here. It's hard to explain what that realization does to you. On one hand, it's comforting, proof that you don't just disappear. But on the other hand, it's terrifying. Because if I was still here, what did that mean? Where was I? I don't know how long I floated in that void. Time didn't exist there. It could have been seconds. It could have been years. But then, I saw it. Far in the distance, so far it almost didn't seem real, was a tiny pinprick of light. It wasn't much. Just a spark. But it was there, breaking through the endless black. I didn't know whether to feel relieved or afraid. Was it hope? Or was it a trap? I couldn't tell. But I couldn't take my eyes off it. And as I stared, it started to grow. Slowly at first, but steadily. The light was moving closer, or maybe I was being pulled toward it. Either way, I couldn't stop it. That's when fear crept in. I didn't know what was happening. I didn't know what this light was or where it would take me. And worst of all, I couldn't control it. Do you know what it feels like to lose control? To have no say in what's happening to you? It's a kind of fear that grips you deep inside. But here's the thing. I couldn't run. I couldn't hide. All I could do was wait. And as that light grew brighter, as it came closer, I realized something. This wasn't the end. It was just the beginning. Are you ready to hear what happened next? What was waiting for me inside that light? Because I can tell you this much. What I saw changed everything I thought I knew about life, death, and what comes after. Would you dare to follow me into the unknown? The tunnel and the unknown. The light was growing. Bigger. Brighter. Closer. At first, I was just watching. What else could I do? I couldn't move. I couldn't run. All I had was the strange feeling of floating, suspended in that endless void. But as the light came toward me, everything changed. It wasn't just a light anymore. It was swirling, like a spiral, full of different shades of gray, white, and tiny sparks that flickered in and out. It was alive, and it felt like it was pulling me in. And then it did. I wasn't floating anymore. I was moving. Upward. Fast. And I wasn't in control. It was like being grabbed by something I couldn't see and yanked into the middle of that spinning light. I tried to stop it. I put my arms and legs out, thinking I could touch something, anything, to slow myself down. But there was nothing. The tunnel wasn't solid. It stretched and expanded as I moved, like it was alive. I can't explain the fear I felt in that moment. Have you ever been on a roller coaster, right before the big drop? That feeling in your chest, like you're about to fall forever. It was like that, but worse. Because this wasn't a ride I could step off. I didn't know where I was going. And that's what terrified me. I could see it now, the end of the tunnel. There was a bright, blinding light at the top, shining so intensely it almost hurt to look at it. But I couldn't look away. And as I got closer, I started to feel different. The fear was still there, but something else was creeping in. A sense of power. Not mine, but something far greater than me. It felt like the tunnel was alive, like it was guiding me to something. Or someone. I wanted to ask, "Where are you taking me?" But the words wouldn't come. Instead, I just kept moving, faster and faster, until I reached the top. And then, just like that, I was there. The light wasn't just light anymore. It was everywhere, filling everything. It was so bright, so pure, I couldn't even see where it ended. It wasn't just in front of me, it was inside me, wrapping around me like a blanket. And yet, even in the middle of all that brightness, I felt small. Tiny. Like I was standing in front of something too massive, too powerful to even understand. That's when I realized, this wasn't the end. This was the entrance. But to what? What was waiting for me inside that light? And why did I feel like I was being pulled into something so much bigger than myself? The questions swirled in my mind, but there were no answers. Not yet. And as I stood there, suspended in that blinding light, I felt a presence. Something, or someone, was there with me. Watching me. Waiting for me. That's when the fear came rushing back. Because if there was something waiting for me, I had no idea what it was. Was it good? Was it bad? Or was it something far worse than I could ever imagine? Do you want to know what was waiting for me inside that light? Because I'll tell you this, it wasn't what I expected. And it's something I'll never forget. Are you ready to step into the next part of this story? Into the place where the unseen becomes real? Where everything you think you know is stripped away? Let me show you what lies inside the light. The unseen realms. When I stepped into the light, it wasn't what I expected. I thought it would be warm, comforting, like stepping into the sunlight after a cold night. But this light wasn't like that. It wasn't just around me, it was inside me. It was everywhere, touching parts of me I didn't even know existed. And then I saw them. At first, they were just shapes. Blurry outlines moving through the brightness. But as they came closer, I started to recognize them. Faces I hadn't seen in years. People I thought were gone forever. My great-grandmother was there, smiling at me the way she always did when I was a child. My great-grandfather stood beside her, and behind them were others, family, friends, people I'd lost along the way. I wanted to cry. I wanted to run to them and hold them. But I couldn't move. It was like something was keeping me in place, making me watch. And then I realized, not all of them were smiling. Some faces looked sad. Others looked disappointed. Like they were waiting for something. Or maybe someone. That's when I heard the voice. It wasn't a sound, not like you're hearing me now. It was more like a thought, but not my own. It spoke directly into my mind, clear and calm. "Heather, you have died." The words hit me like a wave. My chest tightened, and for a moment, I couldn't breathe. I wanted to scream, "No. This can't be happening. I'm not ready." But deep down, I knew it was true. I had died. And as soon as I accepted it, the light changed. It wasn't just bright anymore. It was alive. It pulsed and moved like it was breathing, and I could feel something, or someone, inside it, watching me. Have you ever felt like someone was looking straight through you? Like they could see every thought, every secret, every lie? That's how it felt standing in that light. It wasn't judging me. Not yet. But it was waiting. Waiting for me to realize what was coming next. That's when my great-grandmother stepped forward. She reached out to me, her face full of love and something else, something heavier. "Heather," she said, though her lips didn't move. "It's time." Time for what? I wanted to ask. But before I could, the light began to shift again. It stretched and bent, and suddenly, I wasn't standing anymore. I was falling. Not down, not up, just falling, through a space that wasn't really space at all. And as I fell, I saw things. Shapes. Shadows. Beings I couldn't understand, watching me as I passed. Some of them were beautiful, glowing with colors I'd never seen before. Others were different. Darker. Heavier. Their presence made my chest tighten, like the air had been sucked out of the room. But none of them spoke. They just watched. And then I landed. I wasn't in the light anymore. I was somewhere else. Somewhere vast and endless, where walls didn't exist and time had no meaning. And in the center of it all was a book. Not just any book. My book. It floated there, waiting for me to come closer. But I didn't want to. I was afraid of what I'd find inside. Because deep down, I already knew what it was. It was my life. Every choice I'd made. Every word I'd spoken. Every thought I'd ever had. It was all there, written in pages that seemed to glow with a light of their own. And as I stared at it, the voice returned. "It's time to see. Do you want to know what I saw? What I felt when the pages of that book began to turn? Because what came next wasn't just a memory. It wasn't just a story. It was everything. The life review. The book opened on its own. I didn't touch it. I couldn't have, even if I wanted to. It moved like it had its own will, and as the pages began to turn, I felt a deep, sinking dread in my chest. I wasn't ready. But the book didn't care. The first thing I saw wasn't a moment or a memory. It was me. Not as I am now, but as I was back then, a child, laughing in the sunlight. The image was so vivid, it felt like I was standing there, watching my younger self play. I could even hear the laughter. And then it changed. The scenes moved faster, jumping from one moment to the next. It was like watching a movie of my life, but I wasn't just watching, I was in it. I could feel everything, not just from my perspective, but from the perspective of everyone I'd ever interacted with. Do you know what it feels like to hear your own harsh words, not as you spoke them, but as someone else heard them? To feel the sting of your own anger through their eyes? It's unbearable. Every careless word, every thoughtless action, things I had forgotten or thought didn't matter, came rushing back. And the worst part? I couldn't look away. I saw the little things first. Times I ignored someone who needed help. Moments when I chose convenience over kindness. They seemed so small back then, so easy to brush off. But now, I could see the ripples they left behind. The woman I was too busy to stop for on the street. She carried that moment with her, wondering why nobody cared. The friend I spoke to in anger. My words echoed in his heart long after I forgot them. I wanted to scream, to beg for it to stop. But the book kept turning, and the memories kept coming. And then came the good moments. I saw the times I had helped someone, even when I didn't realize it. The smile I gave a stranger who was having the worst day of their life. The time I listened to a friend when they needed it most. Those moments shone like tiny lights in the darkness, and for a moment, I felt relief. But it wasn't enough. Because for every light, there was a shadow. For every good deed, there was something I had done, or failed to do, that left a scar. And then, it got worse. I was no longer watching memories. I was living them. I could feel the pain I had caused others, the hurt I had ignored, the weight of my own choices pressing down on me like a stone. Have you ever thought about what your life would look like if every single thing you've ever done was laid bare? If there was nowhere to hide, no excuse you could make? I lived through that. And it wasn't just the big moments that mattered. It was everything. Every thought. Every word. Every action. And then, just when I thought I couldn't take any more, the book stopped. The voice came again, calm and steady, but with a weight that crushed me. This is your life. This is what you chose. I fell to my knees. I couldn't even speak. All I could think was, what have I done? And then the voice said something else. You have seen your past. Now, you will see what comes next. What comes next? The words sent a chill through me. Because if my past was this heavy, what would the future hold? Do you want to know? Do you want to see the future I was shown? Because I'll warn you now, it's not what you think. And it's not what you want to hear. The terror of the future. The voice said, now, you will see what comes next. I thought the life review had been unbearable, but I was wrong. I wasn't ready for what I was about to see. The light around me shifted again, and I found myself sitting in some kind of chair. I don't know how I got there, it just happened. In front of me, these massive golden spheres appeared, each one as big as a basketball. They floated in the air, glowing softly, and then, one by one, they opened. Inside the first sphere, I saw a scene from Earth. It was chaos. Cities burning, people screaming, the air thick with smoke and fear. I saw people fighting, hurting each other over things that seemed so small. Land, power, beliefs. And the worst part, it wasn't just one war. It was war after war, a cycle that never seemed to end. As I watched, the golden sphere disappeared, and another one floated in front of me. This one showed floods. Massive waves swallowing entire towns. People running, climbing, screaming for help, but there was none. I could feel their terror, their desperation. And then, just as quickly as it came, it was gone. The next sphere was worse. Starving children, their bodies frail and weak, their eyes hollow. Mothers crying as they held their dying babies. Fathers breaking under the weight of their own helplessness. I felt their pain like it was my own, and I wanted to look away. But I couldn't. The voice spoke again, calm but unrelenting. This is the future of mankind if nothing changes. I begged it to stop. Please, I said, I can't take any more. But the spheres kept coming, one after another, showing me more suffering, more death. I saw protests turning violent, streets filled with anger and blood. I saw fires spreading across forests, oceans rising and swallowing homes. And then, I saw silence. The earth, empty, quiet. Do you know what it feels like to see the world you love reduced to nothing? To feel the weight of everything we've done, every choice, every mistake, crushing you all at once. I couldn't breathe. I wanted to scream, to fight, to run, but I was frozen in that chair, forced to watch as the future unfolded in front of me. And then the voice said something I'll never forget. This is not set in stone, but it is the path you are on. I felt my heart break, because in that moment, I realized that we still had a chance to change. A chance to make things right, but only if we wanted it. Do you understand what that means? Do you see what I'm saying? You still have time. We all do. But that time is running out. And as I sat there, broken and trembling, the voice spoke one last time. You have seen what may come. Now, you will understand why. What came next wasn't just about the future. It was about everything, about life, death, and the choices we make every single day. Do you want to know why all of this is happening? Why we're here and what we're supposed to do? Because that's what I was shown next. And it changed everything. The cosmic realization. After seeing the future, I thought the worst was over. I thought the voice would let me go, that I'd be allowed to rest. But I was wrong. That's when the light shifted again. It wrapped around me, pulling me into a place I can barely describe. It wasn't a room. There were no walls, no ceiling, no floor. It was endless, stretching out in all directions, glowing with a soft, white light. And then I felt them. I wasn't alone anymore. There were others there, beings, if you can call them that. I couldn't see their faces, but I could feel their presence. It was powerful, overwhelming, like standing in the middle of a storm and feeling the air crackle with energy. But it wasn't scary. Not at first. They didn't speak to me the way we speak to each other. It was all in my mind, thoughts, feelings, ideas pouring into me all at once. They showed me things I didn't understand at first. I saw how everything is connected. Every person, every animal, every blade of grass, it's all part of the same web. And when we hurt one part of it, we hurt the whole thing. Have you ever thought about how your actions affect the world around you? Not just the people you know, but strangers, places, even things you'll never see? I didn't. Not until that moment. They showed me how our thoughts create energy, how every decision we make sends out ripples that touch everything and everyone. And then they showed me what happens when those ripples collide. It was chaos. All the anger, hatred, greed, it clashed together, creating storms of darkness that spread across the web. And the worst part? It was us. We were the ones creating it. I wanted to cry, to beg them to stop. But they weren't done. They showed me the beauty too. The moments of kindness, love, and hope that sent out ripples of light. Those ripples were smaller, weaker, but they were still there, fighting against the darkness. That's when I realized something that shook me to my core. This isn't just about you, or me, or any one person. This is about all of us. Everything we do, every choice we make, it matters. It changes things, even if we don't see it. And if we don't change, if we don't start sending out more light than darkness, the future I saw will come true. The voice spoke again, this time softer, almost gentle. This is why you were shown these things. This is why you must return. Return? I didn't understand. Why me? Why show me all this, only to send me back? But before I could ask, they showed me something else. It wasn't about the future anymore. It was about the place I was in, the place I had come to after death. They showed me how this realm works, how it connects to the world we know. And they showed me what happens when you don't make it here. What I saw next. I don't even have the words for it. But I'll try. Because if you've ever wondered what it feels like to miss your chance, to be cut off from this light forever, let me tell you, it's worse than anything you can imagine. And if you want to know what that looks like, what it feels like, I'll show you. But I need you to understand one thing before we go on. This isn't just a story. It's your story too. The horrors of missing heaven. I wish I could say it was all light and love, that there was nothing to fear, that we all simply go to a better place no matter what. But that's not what I saw. That's not what I felt. When they showed me the other side, the place where those who missed this light go, it was like the warmth of the room I was in suddenly vanished. The presence of love and connection that had wrapped around me was gone. And in its place, there was cold. Not the kind of cold you feel when it's winter outside. This was deeper, sharper, a cold that didn't touch your skin, it went straight into your soul. I was shown people there. Not with my eyes, but with my heart. I could feel them, all of them, trapped in this space where the light didn't reach. They weren't screaming. They weren't crying. They were just empty. It was the absence of everything good. No love. No hope. No peace. Do you know what that feels like? To feel nothing? I wanted to reach out to them, to pull them out of that place, but I couldn't. They couldn't even see me. They were locked in their own darkness, replaying their lives over and over, feeling the weight of every missed chance, every selfish choice, every moment they turned away from love. And then I realized something that made my stomach drop. They weren't trapped there because someone had sent them. They were there because they chose it. It wasn't a punishment. It was the result of their choices. The voice spoke again, this time heavier, almost like a warning. This is what it means to live without the light. This is what happens when you turn away. I wanted to turn away myself, to shut my eyes and cover my ears, but I couldn't. I was being shown this for a reason. The voice continued, Every moment you are alive is a choice. Every word, every thought, every action brings you closer to this light, or further from it. That's when it hit me. The people I saw weren't there because they were bad or evil. They were there because they had lived for themselves. They had let pride, greed, anger, and fear rule their lives. And when their time came, they didn't know how to reach the light. Have you ever thought about what would happen if you died today? Right now? Would you be ready? Would you know how to find the light? Because if you don't, let me tell you, it's not something you can fake. You can't pretend your way into it. You can't trick your way past it. You either carry it with you, or you don't. And if you don't, the emptiness I saw is waiting. I don't tell you this to scare you. But if you feel that knot in your stomach right now, if your heart is racing, that's not fear. That's a reminder. A reminder that you still have time to change. The voice told me one more thing before I was pulled away from that place. This light is for everyone. But not everyone will choose it. Let me ask you something. When your time comes, and it will come, will you choose the light? Or will you let it slip away? But I wasn't left with only fear. I was given a chance to come back, to share this with you, to show you that there is hope. Because no matter where you are in your life, no matter what you've done, the light is always there. So now, I need to ask you, what are you going to do with this chance? A call to action. As I stood there, surrounded by the light, the voice came to me one final time. It wasn't loud. It didn't need to be. It was calm, steady, and full of certainty. This is your chance, it said. To go back. To make a difference. To choose the light, and to show others how to find it. At first, I didn't know what to say. I was overwhelmed by everything I had seen, the life review, the future, the emptiness of those who missed the light. My heart felt heavy, and my mind was spinning. But then I realized something. I was still alive. I still had time. And so do you. Right now, you are standing at a crossroads. Maybe you don't see it, but it's there. With every choice you make, you are moving closer to the light or further from it. Have you ever stopped to ask yourself, what am I living for? Is it love? Is it kindness? Or is it pride, anger, fear? I'm not here to judge you. I've made mistakes too. But let me tell you something I wish someone had told me sooner. Those small choices you make every day, they're leading you somewhere. The question is, where? I came back to give you this message. You don't have to wait until it's too late to change. You don't have to wait until you're standing in front of the light, watching your life unfold, feeling the weight of regret. You can start now. Choose kindness over anger. Choose love over selfishness. Choose to forgive, even when it's hard. Because every time you choose the light, you carry it with you. And when your time comes, and it will come, that light will guide you home. But don't just take my word for it. Ask yourself, what if today was my last day? Would I be ready? Would I find the light, or would I be lost in the darkness? You have a choice. Right now. The voice told me one last thing before I was sent back. The light is always waiting. But it won't wait forever. So, what are you going to do? Will you keep living like nothing matters, like there's no consequence, no end? Or will you make the choice to live with purpose, with love, with light? I know you're feeling something right now. That tug in your chest, that voice in your mind telling you this is your moment. Don't ignore it. Don't wait. The light is waiting for you. And now, I need you to come with me to the final part of this story. Because there's one more thing I need to tell you. Something I realized after everything I saw, something you can't afford to miss. Do you want to know what it is? Then stay with me. The clock is ticking. As I stood in that light, surrounded by everything I had been shown, my past, the future, and the other side, a single thought filled my mind. Time is running out. The voice didn't say it, but I could feel it. The weight of those words pressed down on me like a stone. Not just for me, but for all of us. Do you know how much time you have left? Do you know how many breaths, how many moments are still ahead of you? I didn't. None of us do. But here's what I know now, every second you are given is a gift. Not a promise. Not something you're entitled to. It's a chance. A chance to change. A chance to love. A chance to find the light before it's too late. The clock is ticking. I know what you might be thinking. I'll get to it tomorrow. I have time. But that's the same thing I used to think. I told myself I could always fix things later. Always forgive later. Always be better later. But what if later never comes? What if today is your last chance to make things right? I've been to the other side, and I'm telling you this because I don't want you to feel the regret I felt. I don't want you to miss the light. Because once that clock stops ticking, there are no more chances. The choices you make now are the ones you'll carry with you forever. So, ask yourself, what are you holding on to that you need to let go of? Is it anger? Pride? Fear? Who do you need to forgive? Who do you need to love? The time you have left is not for wasting. It's for living. And when that moment comes, when you take your last breath and step into the unknown, will you be ready? Will you feel peace, knowing you lived with love and light? Or will you feel the weight of every missed chance pulling you into the darkness? That choice is yours. Right here. Right now. The light is waiting for you. It's always been there, just out of reach, waiting for you to take the first step. Don't wait until it's too late. Don't wait until the clock stops. Because once it does, there's no going back. Let me leave you with this. If you were standing in front of the light today, if you were shown your life the way I was shown mine, would you be proud of what you saw? Or would you wish for more time? The clock is ticking. What are you going to do with the time you have left? That's the question only you can answer.
You've just heard a story that could change the way you see your life. But don't let it stop here. If this message spoke to your heart, hit the like button, subscribe to this channel, and share it with someone who needs to hear this. And before you leave, let us know in the comments, are you ready to meet the light? Or share a prayer for someone who might need it. Your words might inspire someone else to take that first step. Thank you for watching, and remember, the clock is ticking.